Yeah.
We're 3.
So,
yeah.
no, this is a good place to start. We're already doing a podcast.
Yes, that's true.
We
That's
did this last week and the week before it, where the first 20 minutes of the conversation is like, why isn't this the podcast? It's better than anything we're going to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
the only difference is when recording, I hold the mic closer to my face.
Yeah,
fair
that's
enough.
reasonable.
Otherwise, no difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't.
The hard in on a podcast is a little, like, it's startling for me anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then it's like, do you guys just not talk?
Yeah, everybody
like-
sits in silence until we actually hit
I just
roll.
want to tell you, we actually hate each other and can't stand a word. But when we're rolling,
But man, we can turn it on.
yeah, no, the issue I would have with having like a young person on, because I've thought about bringing my son on.
Yeah.
He's turning 13
Yeah,
right
like
away
I'd be
here.
fascinated to know what he thinks of the world.
Yeah. Well, he wants to come on eventually. I just haven't been sure when to do it.
Yep.
When we first started, I was definitely sure it wasn't time yet.
That's fair.
Because it would be too much of like an interview.
Yeah.
Like it would be me pitching him question after question after question and trying to keep the air going, right? Like
Yeah.
like we've had, even when we get a new guest on the first time, it's always like it turns into more of like a quiz show or like a game show format where it's like, this person hasn't done this before, so you have to like lob them softballs over and over to
get
keep
them talking.
Yeah.
We need
Get
to
them
find
not
guests
scared.
that have experience.
On other podcasts.
Yeah,
and
that would
shit,
be super beneficial
or just
for our guest
talking in
experience.
general on camera.
Yeah,
Yeah,
conversationalist.
yeah, whatever in front of camera experience it is. It'd be handy to get a guest that goes, "Oh, I'm comfortable with this. I know what I'm doing here."
Yeah, they just roll in. Like if someone else had me on a podcast, I would just be like this. I already know how I'm going to be. Like I have that parameter of, I've done podcasts now, 81 of them. This is the 81st.
Weird.
Counting some failures there, maybe 84-ish.
That's probably more than that.
Yeah.
We had a lot of oopsies at the beginning.
That being said, it leads in well to my next point I wanted to talk about is I'm going to be on a radio show tomorrow morning.
Cool. Which one?
It's 104.4 Ireland. It's like the number one Irish news station. I
Awesome.
looked them up. I can't remember their names. They do like an afternoon show or something.
Yeah.
But they're recording it at 9 p.m., 4 p.m., which is 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. for us.
Yeah.
Which is like
That's
a
perfect.
mind trip. But it totally fucked me up when I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. Like how's 4 p.m. sound? And I'm like, sure. And then I looked, I was like, oh, I can't do it this day. Because then you have to like invert your schedule almost.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was like, and then I was thinking, like, what's that like for Lee? Like,
I know.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I know. Like, that's one of the weird things. Like,
Such a crazy time jump.
when he'd be FaceTiming, it'd be like, like 11 a.m. and like Jake would be going to bed. And it's like, whoa. Right. The world is huge.
Well, and I'm like, a few hours doesn't distort me much.
Yeah.
But that really, like, even now, my mind's still trying to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what time is it there? What time is it here?
Yeah, the world makes no sense.
So trying to trade securities while living in Asia, weird times.
Sure.
So the market, instead of opening at 9:30 our time,
Like Kevin's already done.
no. So actually, you're getting ready to like go to bed. You're all intoxicated. You're all
Sure.
drunk and fucked up, and now it's 11:30 p.m. and you're
You
like,
know,
okay,
as you do.
time to go make some trades. Here we go. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
The New York Stock Exchange opens at 11:30.
what were you doing
PM
for work
in
at that
Asia.
time?
Building bungalows in the jungle.
Ah.
Yeah,
Jungle Bungalow.
jungle bungalow.
Bungalow. That sounds like a good time.
Oh, man. Yep.
So,
Sure.
yeah, so I'm going to be doing this radio show. I told them, I was like, I don't know what the questions are going to be. And they're like, oh, it's super laid back. We just want to talk about this article. This fucking article. Have you seen this?
I have seen this
It
article.
is everywhere.
Apparently your butt hurts.
It was on the New York Post.
What?
It's been all over Twitter. Yeah. It was on the New York Post.
okay.
It's on our
News.
News.
There's
News.
this big Reddit forum
Yeah.
about, what is it? Fucking interesting things. I think it's our Reddit, fucking interesting things.
Yeah,
or-
it is interesting.
all over these different curiosity pages. And I did one interview like a month ago, and they must have sold it to like everyone because it did so well. And now it's like fucking all over the place. And these Irish guys want to talk to me
Sweet.
on this radio show. And I'm just like, huh? Like, I've done these before, and this hasn't happened quite like this.
Yeah.
But they had a great headline. When I was doing the interview, I was giving them headline after headline on purpose.
You just lobbing them up.
Well, I've been doing this long enough that I'm like, these answers don't necessarily need to be true so much as they need to sound good. Because now it's like
You're getting into politics now.
the business of farming people, right? Like
Yeah,
you're like
yeah.
managing your expectations of every word.
Yeah.
So I had like 6 different lines that I was like, this is polarizing. This is polarizing. This will bait.
I need some
interest.
examples.
Well, the one they went with was extreme tattoo fan says bum was most painful. Inside bum cheek was
inside bum was most painful.
yeah, which is like paraphrasing.
Inside
Yeah.
bum.
Which is it's heavily paraphrasing what I said.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
But like I was giving them those on purpose
Yeah.
because I'm like, that's gonna make a great headline.
Yeah.
And click the comments and it's literally just all like bum jokes and
Yeah.
shit. It's like- so other people have taken the different bits of the article and ran with those, but like I knew I had like 6 different ones in there that I'm like, this is gonna piss people off. This is gonna shock people. This is gonna upset people.
So let's make some predictions. I would say,
The Russia is going to invade the Ukraine within 90 days.
There you go.
I mean,
That's a prediction. You
it is
did
a
ask for
prediction.
prediction.
I didn't say which direction the predictions were going. I just said predictions. So.
Exactly.
We're in a different lane, but
A
prediction
little
nonetheless.
different. Slightly left. Slightly left.
Still, the bum hurts
No,
most.
Yeah, still quite a pain in the ass. Yeah. No, so okay, I would say you're probably going to start getting some inquiry from things, and I would probably say within the next, say, 6 months, I would say you're at least mentioned on Rogan.
What?
Yeah,
It's gonna happen eventually. Because
Yeah.
like, okay, so just
he's talked about Black Alien Project. Like he is next door to Jared now.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
to piggyback off of that quick is like it's going to happen eventually
Yeah.
because this project is not cooling off. It's heating up. And that's where, like, years ago when I first was contacted by Inc. magazine,
Yeah.
Lee was like, you got to go for this. This might be the only chance. And I was like, there's no way because
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near done.
Because I'm not done, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what's interesting is, like, this he keeps going, right? And I'm not just doing it for the spectacle. I am enjoying it. And I'm even, there's addiction there
Yeah.
where I'm going away in February and I don't have any appointments that month. And it's making me, like, tense, like thinking about that. Like I'm not going to get tattooed and I know I'm going to get tattooed. Don't get me wrong, but like,
And I know I'm gonna.
well, no, like I know it's going to come. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like I don't see the routine that I'm used to,
Oh
and
fuck! I just had a great idea.
it's making me a little irrational.
So, I practice my line work on Jeremy's legs
You could.
Great. Yeah.
I don't have a plan for my legs.
because, like, then you get tattooed, and I can work on my clean ass line work, and then they'll all just fade away anyway.
Yeah.
Or I'll just like give you a little bit of brush over later.
Well, there's definitely going to be withdrawal. There always is. Like during the lockdowns when like I couldn't get tattooed, it was just like I need something to fill, and then I start fucking with my ears more heavily.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's when I start substituting the itch with because it's like a progression, but it's also like there's
All
a
work
pain.
and no tattoos makes Jared a dull boy.
Yeah, like there's an adrenaline fixation and some kind of progression is happening, and it's because it's not just one element; it's multiple elements, right? And so, like without them all coming together in some way, because like now I'm doing this workout plan, but it's not not hitting the same spot.
It will as soon as you get weights involved.
Well,
Like,
I have
the
weights,
thing-
but
no,
it's not
no,
the gym.
No,
it's
when
dumbbells.
you pick up hundreds of pounds,
Hey, I can
you will be
appreciate
like
that.
You will be like, holy fuck, this feels great.
Yeah, I'm not knocking that, and I'm not saying that might not happen. But what I'm saying now is what I'm doing right now is not. It's not going to scratch that itch. So
No,
I'd either
it's
need to
not.
go a lot farther
Yeah.
or like because it has to be more extreme.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is that like I think Joe Rogan will be talking about me,
Yeah.
whether
He's
he
into
fucking
tattoos.
likes it or not.
He's into
because
tattoos. Like, if we could read the code of this whatever you want to call it, matrix that we're living in, yeah, probably. I'd say like the odds are circled around that.
Well, I'm not dropping steam. I'm picking up steam. It's getting. I've never been in the New York
Well,
Post.
and he's into tattoos. He's like been talking to his guests about tattoos the last while. So
If he wants to, like, I think I could have a very unique podcast with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, of
I've
course
said
you
it
could.
for years, but and people are always like, "That's insane. Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? Who do you think you are? You're fucking
no, I think
Joe
you'd
Schmo."
have. I think you'd have a different translation of a similar vibe that he goes for, which this idea of growth through pain. Basically, that's like the long and short of
Yeah.
it. Because he approaches it from a different avenue, but he's big into the idea of suffering and choosing suffering.
Yeah, and I think there's a blind spot still there because, like,
Yeah.
I think he's never talked to a lot of like the body mod type
Nope,
thing.
never.
So I feel like I could really bring that out of the dark a bit there, and I think I'm the right person to do it too.
Yeah, you'd be
so I can
good
make
at
it
conveying it.
make it approachable.
Yeah.
I seen a great stoicism meme the other day. You know, I always love to share those, but
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it, but it was the way to speak well, and I'm not doing that now, is to speak as if you're wise, but talk the language of the people, right? So, like, you need to be thinking like an intellectual and breaking it down on a very common level. And I think I do that in my own way very well. Not to say that I'm a brilliant person, but like I'm always playing with really dumbed down language, but explaining things that are somewhat profound.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I think also like when you have an avenue of expertise, the ability, like whatever it is, the ability to convey that information is what separates those who like kind of push their stuff forward or like really understand what they're doing. Because like when you've been in a training role, like you've had to train people, so therefore you've had to understand how to give language in a way that will get the result that you want. And that act, like of being able to convey information to get your desired result, that's what we're talking about.
It's actually hilarious you bring that up. Is we got a new guy in. They're frantically trying to find like they're trying to pull people from other places with like high tickets. Like, we'll give you this much to, but like they're bringing people in, and they brought one in. He's got some potential, and my boss is like, "Well, we want to get him on the weekend over here on the egg grill," and I'm like, I can't replace myself in a month. You're going to need more time than that. It's not going to happen like that. I was like, you're going to have to draw from the strength you have here for a while and then hope that you can just blanket it. Because you can't replace someone that's been around that long that fast.
No.
It's not going to happen because there's so much muscle memory that goes into anything you're doing. It's like you could have competency in a field, but you put someone in a new spot. This is one of those things where like guest spotting is a bit strange to me, but I guess you know your equipment, right? So you have that familiarity. But like you come into a new place, you have the skill, but you're still learning that place, right? How it's done, what they expect of you.
Well, the things that you would have issue with is all the stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the tattoo.
Yeah.
It's all the like printers and like cash systems and like armchairs and stations and all the things that
Those
like,
things can all take like an extra 15 minutes before and after.
Yeah.
But during the tattoo, it's still
the process.
Station you skin as
See,
long
that's
as you've
not
got furniture set up a sort of way.
necessarily a great comparison.
No.
No,
Exactly.
I mean there's elements of it, but in terms of the actual like, it's kind of like gigging is a similar thing where it's like you can be in different bands, you can be in different rigs, but the actual playing of the music is kind of the same. But you do have to adjust yourself in all the areas that do get changed.
Yeah.
And there's lots for sure. But I mean, like, so like with what you're saying, like if you were a very skilled cook and you move from spot to spot, the things that you're talking about all do affect the product.
Yeah.
So like the ability to understand the grill, the ability to know where everything is, have good communication with those around you. Like it's more of a team sport thing than it is.
Oh yeah,
like,
there's a lot of
To
team
take this
sport
one
in it.
layer deeper, though, the more someone does that move around and stays at a spot until he's competent and then moves to the next spot,
It gets better.
you get
Yeah, it gets
better at
easier to
learning.
adjust.
Yeah.
You get more
Yeah.
adaptable.
We had one guy come in. I'll never forget him. I've never talked about this guy, but he is legend in my mind anyway. His name was Tony, and I call him Tough Tony because he was cooking for 30 years, but he was only 38. And he had a story about when he was here, he did this. When he was here, he did this. Now, he would have been a joke character in my mind, but he was incredibly competent from day one, too. So, like, he knew... He walked into our restaurant, had our menu in like 20 minutes. And it's a fucking huge menu.
It is.
It's massive. It's insanely large.
When someone walks in and pulls that off with that speed, you're sitting there going, maybe all these stories are at least partially true.
Well, here's the thing. He immediately, like, took a little jab at me, like, because he knew I was the top guy there. And he was like, oh, like alpha male posturing. But then within a few months, like, he kind of... Oh, okay, well, this guy's legit. And he fucked up. He backed off a bit on that. And we became pretty good friends. We actually did the whole handshake hug thing when he left. But he managed several different restaurants. He's worked in kitchens for 30 years or whatever. He said he was cooking for 30 years. But he's like, oh, I started cooking when I was 8 years old. And he had stories about getting into fights with like 20 guys, and he won the high school fitness test, and he did so well they had to cancel it after he did it, and like he had all
That
these.
sounds.
I
like
take
a
it back.
thing.
That's crazy as
He
shit.
had all these Trumpian type stories, like, and he was a small man, so he was like maybe 5'4". So like
cancel the fitness test. I was too fit.
yeah, and he never liked wearing a hat because
He's lucky he was competent. Can you imagine
Yeah.
his
Oh my
stories
God,
if he
yeah.
wasn't?
and he
Yeah.
made all the front staff irate because he was full of like cooking bravado. Like he loved cooking. He lived for cooking. I ran a steakhouse and my wife was the head waitress and we ran it together. And back in those days when we did that, it was normal to flirt with the front staff and they flirted with the back. Like he had all these insane stories. He was one of the most interesting characters I ever met, and he
A
pissed.
smack on the ass was just encouragement.
Yeah, he pissed every woman he ever worked with off.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
They all hated him,
Yeah.
but like I fucking loved the guy because he was just this dripping with machismo, you know. Like he
Yeah.
was like you want this guy as a leader kind of
Hamburger
thing.
meat hanging out. And the
Yeah,
Gold chain.
That's also a very
The rare
dangerous
lo-
leader. The fact that though that personality often leads itself or ends itself in a leadership role is what caused us to have so many bad leaders.
well, he didn't
Because-
end up doing.
because
the-
confidence, I guess.
he wasn't leader. He wasn't a leader
That's not
where we
confidence
were.
anymore. That's cockiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we consider it still in the same lane, which is just like, if you are that cocky, you better have skills to back it up.
Well, someone has the balls to walk out and say ridiculous shit will still persuade 30% of the
Yeah.
population.
Well, because they
right?
assume that it must have the result at the
If this
end of
guy's
it.
got enough balls to come out and say that in front of
Well,
everyone,
Yeah.
What would-
clearly.
it would anger people. But I took it in an absurdist lane where I was like, he's in on the joke. He has to be in on the joke because, like, whenever anything
Sometimes
would
they are.
happen, he'd be like, "Oh, I got a story about this," and then it would be this outlandish story where he got caught up in a jail somewhere and he had to fight 20 guys, and then the cops started trying to get him, and afterwards after beating up all the guys, the cops tried to hire him, but he didn't want to work for the cops because he loves cooking. Like, it was like just these whale tales, and I was hanging on his every word.
Man, I would write all those down and,
Wait for more.
and just make scripts out of them.
He's going to make the most annoying grandpa someday.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like the worst grandfather.
Yeah.
Well, he has like 5 kids,
Oh, good.
of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yep.
his wife
perfect.
doesn't work because he takes care of all the bills. She doesn't need to work anymore. He's good.
Okay. Good
He's
enough.
working 2 jobs. He's working 75 hours a week.
Perfect.
And he didn't need a day off. It'd
Yeah.
be like, Tony, take a day off. I don't need a day off. What do you think? I'm dead?
He
I
doesn't
can
want.
work.
He doesn't want to go home to that nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Have you met him? I bet his home life is interesting.
But after he left, it would continue on for years where I would just any random topic, and I would bring up like a Tony story or like related to it, like, I remember when Tony made the best burgers ever. He makes his own burgers; they're seasoned to perfection. Like he did burgers for the Prime Minister at one point. Yeah, he catered.
Prime Minister went vegan after he tried his burger because he was like, I can't possibly.
He catered a barbecue for the Prime Minister. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
They never had better burgers.
Yeah, never again. Because they're like, well, we better just die now, I guess.
But the best with him was he would slice everything by hand, and he was very competent with the knife. but he had over prepped some vegetables, and now they're all going to go bad, right? Because we have too many. And I remember having to tell him, like, hey, you just take it easy on the veg prep for a little while. And he just looked so hurt. And then later he told my other coworker, like Daryl, he's like, if you guys don't want me to cut any more vegetables, just tell me, okay? He's just like, it looked like he was crying. Like,
So
like he took it so hard.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I did.
I literally told you because that's what the conversation was.
Like, it looked like he might leave. Like, he
Really?
was so wounded.
His first act of failure.
His first day
He's
off.
never been not
Since he was
perfect.
8.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the funniest thing would be he would be needing to get lettuce down, and we have boxes of lettuce. They're up on the highest shelf. And so he would, like, bring a bucket
It's
in.
nice and warm, so they really heat up.
Yeah, nice wilty.
Yeah, he
Nice
would
wilty lettuce.
he would bring in a bucket, and he would stand on the bucket.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he wouldn't take the bucket out, and you're like, oh, Tony was in here. He was only with us for, I think, 6 months, but he made such a profound
Made a lasting
yeah,
impact.
that I feel like I worked with him for much longer. Where most people, if they're around for 6 months, I don't even remember their name.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he was distinct, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, he left his mark.
Yeah. So many people don't leave their mark.
I know.
Like, that makes me very sad to think, like, there's a lot of people out there that have made a mark on no one. Like, no one profoundly.
There's also a lot of people who have caused a lot of pain and suffering trying to make a mark.
Fair.
Oh, yeah.
Fair.
I'm sorry. The last week and a half, I've listened to a couple of podcasts twice over, just by accident, a couple times, and on purpose one time, regarding genocide and the fall of empires. And that'll really skew your perception on how a person's personality and belief system is no longer harmless and can affect millions of people.
Well, if you're in the right position, right?
Yeah.
Like, for us here, we can say, we could pretty well talk out our ass all day, and it's not really going to affect
That's
too
right.
much.
We can put whatever personality we want into the sphere, and it's not really going to affect many people's lives.
That being
in a
said,
profoundly damaging way.
I do wonder how much longer that's true for me, right? Like,
Ew.
I'm always like, I wonder how much I can get away with saying, even at the level I'm at, and go, oh, well, it's just we're just fucking around.
And for the next 10
It's just
minutes,
me and the boys.
all of Jared's derogatory speech. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's line up some cancelers. I mean, like, it depends as to how you want to look at it, right? Because, like, one person doing something. So say you could embody that, like, genocidal thing. Let's talk real happy things for a minute.
Embodying genocide.
Well, like,
with
so
Remy.
you're the say you're like the leading, not you, obviously.
What does
but
your black
say-
coat suit represent?
But say
I like to think of it as a good metaphor for genocide.
say you are one of those megalomaniac characters that's pushing forward that type of thing. Like, the problem is that the argument that could be made is that even though the sphere of our speech currently is viewed as minor comparatively, it's kind of like I don't know. I don't think it's just like one guy has this outward effect. I think it's like there's a lot that pushes towards creating that one guy.
I
yeah.
completely agree with that. Like, it's going to sound insane, but I think that Hitler was an inevitability for Germany at that
Yes.
time. It was
Yes, he
just
was.
like somebody was going to be that guy,
Yeah.
and it might have been his name might have been Martin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was someone was going to take up that role, and some of the events might have changed here and there, but like, more or less what they're calling for in that specific moment is put on a person,
Yeah.
and that person rides it out. And I'm
Well-
not saying they have no responsibility at all. I'm
No.
just,
God, no.
No, but he was the voice of a mentality that was there.
and that happens a lot too. That's where sometimes when people will take a lot of credit for things, like they'll take an inordinate amount of credit for what they've done.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you hadn't have done it, someone else would have.
Yeah.
And there are probably other people trying to behind you.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking Einstein, Hawking, etc. Those motherfuckers
There
pulled
are
some shit out of their
great
assholes
minds.
that we still to this day might not have.
And
might
I
not be
will give
figuring
you
out.
that, but I
Yeah.
would say that as society demands more will be brought out of
Yeah,
people. Like,
yeah.
So-
someone will find a way to do something similar to that eventually.
Like, I think, like, the Einstein thing, like, in terms of what his what his mark became, or like Hawking's, like you have. I'm not trying to say that they're not unique individuals, but the things that they observed exist. Right? So
no, that's what makes Einstein so specific. Is he's observed things that he didn't observe things. He claimed things existed without being able to observe them.
Yeah, but that power,
or even prove them mathematically yet.
That power, of
traveling through the future.
No, not necessarily that. Like, so what you're talking about is you're talking about someone that has a very high capacity to think out problems past the point of information input.
Yeah,
right?
Big time.
But that type of person exists currently in many different forms.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't necessarily think that it's that Einstein uniquely would have discovered this and no one else would have.
But the right series of events put this individual in the right place.
Yep. But I just think it's one of those, like, if we look too much as men are gods.
Oh, that's where I'm at with you.
Because it's just like this idea that this one individual is somehow embodying some sort of supernatural ability to push this particular thing. No, not usually.
You know me, I'm not pushing towards supernatural.
That's where, like, even when I said earlier, like, I think I'm the right person to do that on the Rogan show, I don't necessarily think that it's because I'm this unique human being. I just think that I had the right opportunity and the right platform, and everything just kind of came together that way.
Yeah.
But it could have been someone else too.
Well, this is
it
where
should be someone else too.
It might yet be.
It might yet be.
Yeah, of course.
And I wouldn't be like angry about that. But it's one of those things, like, somebody's going to do it.
Well, think about it this way. If you have a 1% chance of that happening, that's thousands of percent more than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because you are in this lane, like, that 1% is actually huge compared to, say, 0.0001 or whatever it is that I have, because I'm just so much further removed from it. Like, him talking about tattoos in general puts you in that place. You getting attention puts you in that place. Him talking about more extreme body mods puts you in that place. So for me, I'm just saying, odds wise, if I were to look at the way that it's moving, I would say that it's probably an inevitability, but still the percentage chance of it is super low.
The chances rise with doing more things like what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like I was telling you, like, I'm not saying this is going to make a huge stir, but as my availability for that kind of stuff increases, where it's like, oh, well, Remy's already done these things and he's been on this thing and he's done this. And there's lots of me talking, and it's very easy to see, like, what it would be like to interact with this character. And I think that those things all help you, like, and your chances rise that ladder a bit more.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if they were even wondering about it, they could look up hundreds of hours of what I'm like before they ever dared bring me on.
Yep.
Is this guy reasonable?
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things he always says. He doesn't really want to talk to unreasonable people.
Yeah.
Right? Or people that are going to be, like, for example, Sam Harris has a list of people that he says are untouchable. You can't speak to these people. Not because you'll get canceled, but because their thoughts on things are too polarizing.
You can't be heard over them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to put you in their lane. Yeah, right?
Your logic is nothing to their line of reasoning. So
some
don't even
people
bother.
that are they're so malignant, you can't touch them, and it would be damaging for you too. So having even this podcast, you can see that I don't feel like I'm that way. So you could immediately look up Remy and go, what does this guy think about? What does this guy before you? And I'm sure they screen people. They have to screen people, right?
Oh, dramatically. Well, like, I doubt he's actually picking who comes on.
No.
I bet he's stumbling into. I bet there's topics he's interested in.
He might have a curiosity, but
he might give names and topics. But I'm sure there's a team that goes through and finds the content of those people and screens them for the right attitudes, the right concepts, and the right credentials too, right?
Yeah, Mark Norman talked about that he got vetted to go on when he was first going on.
Good.
I don't know. I didn't really listen to it, but he just explained that there is a vetting process, which, like, to me,
which is why you don't see him with small dogs anymore. You don't see him with small dogs at all anymore.
The weird
it's all
thing is,
people
though,
who have big presences.
Big presences, or, like, just really extreme competence within a field.
Yeah, preferably.
Yeah, there's definitely people who've been on there that have a smaller presence than me, and I've gone, I'm bigger than this person. I could be on there. I've done that for last year. I've looked at some of the people that have been on. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm right there or higher. It's just
but I'm not just talking about the number.
they'll have
like
more to say about a specific
that's the
topic.
thing, and those professionals, they might
Yeah.
not have a big presence.
I'm not saying I'm a better guest
on a social media per se, but they've likely been on
Yeah.
larger podcasts, larger sources of information. Like they
Yeah.
have
They're
a
more
lo-
important.
Oh
They
my
have a
God,
larger
could you
impact.
imagine if he brought on you and Rick?
That'd be great.
Would it?
Yeah. Well, I think
Rick's-
I'd want to go
Rick's-
on first.
Rick doesn't have hours of video on the internet. You wouldn't be on.
No, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I think Rick would be too hard to control because you'd be like, "Hey, Rick, you just can't talk about these things," and they'd be like,
Do you think he even says that? Like, he has such freedom with Spotify. I don't know if he cares.
I don't know, man."
Well, depends what Rick he's
It's
onto.
not. It's not because it's not even like you can't even ask Rick to not because it's just the way he is. Because it wouldn't be intended.
No,
it would
but
just be some off the cuff
Yeah,
horrible
really.
thing that
Yeah.
would come out of him.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
we're done.
Whoops.
Wrap it up, boys. It's over.
It's been a great time.
Yeah. Because it's like you can't. I don't know if you can train that out of him.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is
He's been in the wilderness.
there'd
too
be no
long.
precedent for having him on anyway, just because there's no media to indicate that he would be
Well,
a guest, let
you're-
alone a good guest.
Just if he was interested in the idea of the artist behind it.
Sure.
oh,
Because, like, that's one of the things
fair
he
enough.
does.
I
follow
knew
some
that's where you
tattooers
were
that are-
going.
Yeah.
but-
Fair enough.
And this is not to take away from Rick, and it's going to sound incredibly arrogant, but I was going to talk about this anyway, is that I'm going to happen no matter what I've got at my disposal.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on Rick.
No, of course not.
He's the right person to be doing this, but like, it's not even something that I'm consciously thinking about all the time. It's just, I'm looking over my history, working with different artists and going, oh, this was always happening no matter who was doing it.
Yes.
Right? It's going to find a way to happen. So like,
Well, it's your pursuit, right?
yeah.
Like, he's executing it, but it's your pursuit.
Yeah, it's like I'm being the director.
It's one of
to
the
some
joys about
extent.
tattooing, is like, it's not yours. You know what I mean? Like, it's that person's. Even
Well-
though you're the one doing it and executing it, they live with it outside of you being there.
The
right?
reason this came up, actually, I wasn't thinking about bringing this point up. I've thought about this over the last little while, but it's because I seen Lee's story this morning. Would you be interested in a leg sleeve with no creative control?
Yeah.
And my thought was like, absolutely not. Not at this stage. Like, I would not. Because, and I think that means that I'm just too attached to my own project now.
Probably.
Right? Like, I would need to know so much beforehand that
But it's also ridiculous which is why it's good content. It's ridiculous to propose a project the size of a leg sleeve with no creative control when it's like, I got My Little Pony. That like no creative control.
Well, I mean,
Is-
it would be, but you
is
could
good
look at his
content-
stuff and go, "Oh, this is probably going to be something like this."
But at the same time, why would you get into that project if you could just be like, oh yeah, make sure it's animals or birds or nature or a scene,
Just
like,
say-
just any kind of topic,
Just
rather
say
than
one topic.
Yeah, one topic. Like which I get now. I routinely get sleeves
Yep,
now. People
of
are
course
like,
you do.
I want a nature sleeve, and I'm like, okay, tight.
Of course you do. Well, and
Dope.
you know what?
Dope.
For a lot of people, they just want something that looks good.
Yeah.
I'm doing a leg sleeve right now. You know what he told me? Yeah, zombie Egyptian leg sleeve. That's it. I'm building a sleeve on a big dude's leg.
Does that make you happier with that loose premise?
I mean,
or-
that's a hard fucking premise.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm
Zombie
saying.
Zombie Egyptian is not a loose premise at all.
But like, if he gave you,
But yeah, like now I can add flow into it as I like. I'm open to the artistic possibilities. Whereas like right now, yesterday I worked on a guy. I'm building a sleeve for this guy, and he's kind of already got the quarter panels built up. So I'm kind of just doing 4 tattoos and then gap fillers on them for this
Yeah.
sleeve, and that handcuffs you a little more.
yeah. See, I would be, but I can envision things really, really well. But I can't draw, right? But like, I have a really, really great design sense, and I know how things should go. So I think like designing, I would be able to think about how it would be, but then I don't know if I could articulate it on paper. You know what I mean? Like, it would be, oh, well, I know what that would look like. And I would be putting it together in my head and it would come out like dog shit on page.
Next time I have a no-show, I just need to take the day and draw you a Cthulhu-esque sleeve.
Well, that would be fun.
That's what I got to do next.
Because like I can always envision, like when you say the zombie Egyptian sleeve, like that whole thing shows up in my head. And in your style too. Like I can even picture how you would put that together.
That's right.
But like if I were asked to draw it, it would be like, oh, this looks terrible.
See, this is one of the reasons that you'll do well taking over my role, because that's the exact shit I have to do.
Yeah.
When somebody inquires, especially if they say like they don't have an artist in mind,
You're like, what would this look like in Terry's hand?
Yeah.
In Alicia's hand?
and then all of a sudden they
Ricky's
start
hand,
sending me
my
references of things that they that appeal to them, and I can see like, oh, someone will take this and it get something out of this.
And from even my own tattoos, like when I first came up with the eye and the tentacles and all that for the first suit, all I did was I brought in a picture that I drew as a kid of an eye with like tentacles all around it and teeth and shit. It was like this horrible drawing. But like the whole thing was executed off of my vision. Like it was like, this is how I want this to be, this, and this. And it was like, this is insane. Okay, we'll clean this up and try and do this. And it was the same way with this chess piece too. This was another drawing that I showed Rick, and he was like, well, the drawing's shit, but the idea is cool. So he redrew it. But like I've always had the design sense. I just can't draw.
Well, that's...
I know you can be
learn that.
taught to draw. Sarah's always telling me that,
You
but
can certainly be taught to draw. The vision part is
Don't tell anyone it's a secret.
the vision part is the hard part. To be honest with you, people that can't see and have vision and have like creativity and understand.
oh, I can
things.
tell because the lack of vision is everywhere.
Yeah.
it's insane. Like still,
Yeah,
people,
dude, it's wild.
The lack of vision bothers me more than anything. Like especially with what I'm into now, where people just don't like. So I'm asking people to take it on faith because they don't have the vision. They don't have vision. You draw one line, and they're like, "Well, that looks fucking terrible." It's like, yeah, it's not done, asshole. Well, what do you mean it's not done? You're blacked out already. It's like, okay, well, this conversation's over. You can't see 5 feet ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like, this is the same guy who's minus 30 in his bank account and he's eating a pizza.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking vision for anything.
Minus 30 in his bank account eating pizza.
Seriously. There's
He was at
people like
0.
that out there.
Now he bought a
Bought
pizza.
pizza, yeah.
And now he's minus 30 plus pizza.
And this is the guy that's also screaming at me like, well, fuck, I want to waste the money.
No, this is the same guy who's posting on Facebook about how we should all have 3-day work weeks and get paid the same.
Yeah.
Or it's the guy who's complaining that, because this happened. This is the first time I've seen this. Oh, it's nice that guy can spend all that money on tattoos when we have people starving in the world. So now I'm expected to be giving charity.
Yeah. Fix that
I'm a
first.
fucking line cook.
Fix that first, Jer. If you can't fix world poverty and then get tattooed, then what are you doing it for,
I've
bro?
never
are you
been
doing?
come at from
What are you
that
even doing
lane
it?
until this recent last few couple articles I seen.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I've never been approached from this lane. I've been approached from
You'll
like
get it more now.
racial stuff
Yeah.
and oh, he's ugly. He was ugly before this started. He's worse now. Like I've had all that kind of junk, but I've never had that. It's like I'm not rich.
You'll get it more though, because what like people look at it in terms
I'm not
of
rich.
like,
I spend all my money on
But I
tattoos,
also
bro.
can't get a job because of the face tattoos.
Yeah, of course, naturally. So here's the problem, right? Like, so they put up this number. They put up like 75,000 pounds as in the article.
Yeah.
So over 100K, and people view that in terms of when they see money.
Like you got it all at once.
Well, no, they view it in terms of their understanding of money, right? So however they feel in relation to the cost of a tattoo, if they think tattoos are $80,
Yeah.
right? Then all of a sudden the relationship of their budget to $80 is how they feel your relationship must be from $100,000 to your budget. So if you can spend $100,000 on tattoos, that means you have enough money in relation to them having $80 to spend on a tattoo. Does that make sense? So
It-
all of a
of course
sudden,
it
if
makes sense.
you're $100,000, that must mean you have $100 million.
My coworker that I bring up every now and then, Vince, my beloved friend Vince.
Yeah.
I went to his house I think it was 2020 Christmas during the lockdown. He wasn't working. I had a couple Christmas gifts for him. They're just some little anime knickknacks that from a show I knew he really, really liked. And like he gave me the tour of his house, and it was easily over $100,000 of like
Collectibles.
anime
Yeah, of
collectibles,
course.
and like it was an impressive collection. It's not a knock. It was like this is a life's work. This is what I have, right? But you don't get that all at once. You get that because you love a thing and you dedicate to it, and you bit by bit it ends up becoming a big masterpiece or
Yep.
whatever eventually, right? And he's very proud to show me all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know who any of these characters are or anything, and all I could think is this is a testament to a man who's worked hard his whole life.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get anywhere like that without working hard your whole life. That's the same thing for me. It's the same, like, and he didn't used to understand tattooing, but he equates it that way to what he gets now.
Yeah.
Like, because anyone who has a passion project, right, you just naturally end up at that point eventually. It is consumerist, but I mean, you can pick your own lane, right?
Oh yeah, like I used to do that for music stuff. Like
course.
I spent stupid money.
Like Dave, he's
stupid
got
money.
like a fucking his own recording studio
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well, like,
right?
and the funny thing with Dave too is like, you know, he's broke.
Yeah.
But his gear is better than what I had,
Yep.
and I spent a shitload.
How much money do you think a lifelong smoker spends?
Oh my god! Don't even get me started on that.
Right? Like it's going somewhere, boys.
Yeah.
Your money's going somewhere. At least get something you like out of it.
Yeah.
Or an RRSP, whatever.
Well, that's fair too. We talked about this last time, and I definitely I'm with you. Should have some savings, and I didn't get started heavily into this stuff until I owned my house. Right?
Yeah.
You can be responsible.
By the time we retire, we need to have like $1 million in the bank just to live off the interest.
What happened, man? I thought you were. I assumed you were in the mindset that no one's retiring. Where's the pessimism?
We're all gonna
Well,
die.
that is the pessimism. If you want to retire, you need
Well,
$1 million.
we talked about this
Oh,
last week.
okay.
Just because you think you're gonna die doesn't mean you shouldn't plan to have a better tomorrow.
Dude, fuck that, man. Just make one NFT. You're good.
One FT.
One FT.
I'm gonna start a
Just one
new NFT
Yeah,
platform
exactly.
called
One
1FT.
FT. There's only one.
I
got it.
should grab that domain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Get
just
it on
great.
it. Get on it.
Yeah.
Someone's
NFT.
gonna do it if you don't. We just said that. It's coming.
That's pretty funny.
1FT.NFT.
It may as well be you. Just add that to your list. Founder of 1FT.
Yeah, literally.
What the fuck is Wumpft?
What I'll tell you what it is. It's cash in the bank, bud. Get
That's
on
right.
it.
Yeah, that's your future.
This is the new wave. Fuck all this
Yeah.
tattooing shit.
I did see that though. There was
Wumpft?
No, not quite. But there was a tattooer that had one of those polls up, and he basically just asked, "Would anybody be interested in an NFT auction
Oh boy.
with a free tattoo as the thing?"
A free
Well,
tattoo?
when you put that on the line, you're not even fucking. You basically didn't need to say anything else. Free tattoo. That's all anyone read.
But for him, it's one of those like he can auction off an NFT, so it has a starting value, and every time that NFT trades, he gets a kickback.
Sure.
from it, right?
Oh.
That's how NFTs work.
Yeah,
Right?
but it's-
Whoever's the creator of the NFT always gets a percent kickback.
If
every
you
time it
want to
gets
get
traded.
tattooed by me, you've got to buy an NFT.
It's
Yeah.
like the
'Cause
scummiest
it's like
thing
that's
I
like
ever
saying
seen.
stocks or like
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean?
I've seen this done. A tattooer in the city. I thought it was disgusting. By the way, I'm not going to mention her name, but she was like selling like $10 tickets to get a $500 like
Yeah.
it was like a lottery type thing.
Oh, there's a bunch of people doing that in
Well,
this
there's
town.
tons of people
Holy
doing that.
fucking shit! That
Yeah.
and it's like how much money is she gonna make to do this $500 tattoo?
Less
Oh,
than you'd think.
It's yeah, less than
don't
you
know.
think. That's exactly correct. No. So I was encouraged to try this because
I don't think it's a
I had
good
some
move.
coworkers trying that. No, they're literally selling about $500 for the tickets.
Yep.
For $400 for the tattoo.
Yep.
Like it's really like they're only making 20% on the top.
Well, this one was getting quite a bit of attention, so I don't know.
Doesn't mean that people are paying.
Fair.
You know what I mean? Like people will spend money where they want to spend money, and if you're the, I don't. This is going to sound harsh, but if that's the avenue that you're going down, that's because you don't have high demand. You're trying to create demand,
That's right.
and you're trying to create capital. So it's
Now-
like those are things that like if Lee did that,
That's what I was gonna say. If Lee pulled that off,
Different.
he'd make double or triple.
yeah,
Yeah.
very different story because his platform's
It's a
high
very
enough.
very easy sell
Yes.
too. Lee's work is very easy
Yeah.
to sell.
Well, and the value's different.
Yeah.
The attention's different. The amount of people engaging with that is different. Because if you think about it, like, say there's a lot of people commenting and sharing and things like that. Whatever the number is, a percent of them is paying $10, like 1%.
Oh, well, I understand that.
So it's
trust me, I know all about that. Where Dave will be like, "You got a million followers on TikTok. That's a million eyes." I'm like, oh, it's not how it fucking works. If it worked like that, I wouldn't be working in a kitchen
I'd
anymore.
be retired.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work 1-to-1. It's like 1 to 0.1 by every time everything's finished.
Oh my God, yeah.
You mean for dollars out of followers?
Well,
kind of thing?
here's the thing. Like if you try and sell someone a shirt and you get 30,000 people to see it.
Oh,
out of-
0.01% are buying it.
Yeah, exactly. If that.
Well, what, you said 30,000 people you showed it to?
Well, okay.
You could sell 30 shirts out of that.
Nope.
No.
Definitely not.
No, they have
Definitely not. You have too many different factors, right? Like
Good enough.
The shirt design. People don't buy things just because you say to buy it, right? Like
That's
there's
true.
a very small
Yeah.
segment of the population that's that manipulatable and has expendable income.
It's like here's a perfect example. I got $600 for 6 photos recently.
Cool.
I should have asked for more because the guy pretty well bit my hand off at the fucking acceptance. He sent me 6 pieces of jewelry, this bracelet, which I kind of like anyway, a whole bunch of rings, which I'll never wear because I don't wear rings typically.
He says wearing a ring.
Other than my wedding band, and a couple necklaces. I told him $100 a photo. He's like, I want six of them. I'm like, okay, well, I won't post them until you send me the money, kind of thing. And he agreed. He almost bit my hand off. So I'm like, I got to up my price. But like, I felt bad for him because he's not going to get a return.
He might get some follows.
What was he trying to do with those pictures?
Well, they're a very small ring company.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Like
Right?
He's an influencer, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's like
Well,
people
then,
do that shit to.
I understand why he goes this route because advertising on Instagram is expensive and you
Yes.
get almost nothing for
And
it.
yeah, normal advertising dollars don't go very far.
So if you pay someone with a bigger platform and they do and that's where I have the pain of trying to make provocative, interesting images with them on, right?
Yep.
Because it's hard to sell product and make it look good and also organic.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to get a shot clear of the ring, you gotta really
You gotta
know.
really do something weird.
You gotta do some captivating stuff, right? I did one on Sunday already, and it went pretty well. But like, I feel like that photo would have done better without the rings. So like, it's about me trying to make his product look good, but still get the photo out there to a big audience.
Yeah.
There's an art to it, because if you just here's a picture of a ring,
Yeah. No, it has to be a good image.
then no one wants you advertising their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're making
Yeah.
it look bad, and it's not getting anywhere.
Yeah, that's where like that dude that we featured, John Barrett.
Yeah.
He had this very informative talk where he just kind of Instagram live to explain how artist deals work for people that are big like him, and how it seems like intriguing and seems like a good thing, and you just like. But in terms of the value of what you give, in terms of a high-level artist, and what the company is willing to give you, they're almost never at all make sense for you.
I mean sponsorships from tattoo suppliers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
he was in particular referring to Quadrant and their Wolfpack thing, because basically the deal was like 10 boxes of needles a month, and discounted on like a 30% discount on everything else, but you have to do a post for them a week.
Yeah,
That's
shit.
fucking craziness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's
You
like
can't make that
300,000
interesting.
followers.
Now that said, 10 boxes a month would probably keep me going. Let's see, 10 a month. Well, are those the Quadrant's 20 per box, right?
At least probably like 40 per box.
So I probably use
They're like $250 a needle.
What's 6 times 20? I only use like 120 needles a month.
Probably,
Really.
yeah.
I use 6 a day basically.
Yeah, so you're like $500-600 worth of needles a month.
Yeah. So like, but
Fuck,
I guess
that's
all I'm
terrible.
saying is that would still cover my needles.
Okay, so he made a whole second post about this.
Yeah.
Which is the people that don't understand taxes. So the 30% discount that they're offering you in terms of saving you cost, or the free boxes and things like that, that all is taking away from your shop expense, which just means that you're paying more in tax.
Not how that works.
He's in the States.
You know what? I don't mean to cut you
Same
guys
shit.
off, but
He
I
was
would love to have this guy
he did
on
a whole
pod-
breakdown just explaining why it would be better for him to be able to choose what he wants in the long run for him in terms of his size of person. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying normal people,
Yeah.
like normal artists that's just trying to get by, but he's just a different level of tattooer. 300,000
yeah.
followers is a different level. So for
Yeah,
him,
yeah.
it made no sense, and this is why kind of.
Oh, yeah, for him, that's
He
a
wanted
drop
to
in the
be
bucket.
on the Remy Reacts, but I'd rather like the way that you're describing him and have before to me. He sounds like someone I would like to talk to on the podcast.
Oh, 100%.
Because he's very in the know about other
man.
things, not
Yeah.
just tattooing.
Yeah.
So he seems like he'd be a very well-versed guest to have on here.
Well, and he's like I don't know. He's just with it. He gets it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he's
you
got
can tell
very
he does.
cool, yeah, he's got very cool views on things that I like.
When he
they're views that I
messaged
never
me,
thought.
I was like, "Oh, he's a real human."
Yep.
A lot of the time, when you get a platform, you stop being a real human.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
people expect me to stop being a real human. They're like, "Wow, you messaged me back. I can't believe to hear from you." It's like, yeah, we're,
Yeah, we're just people.
But a lot of people, once you get to a certain point, it's like you almost need to be addressed as Your Majesty or something. It's fucking wild. This guy to be 300K tattooer and reaching out to me to be on the show, it's like, oh yeah, I would like to talk to this guy eventually. It's just about finding a way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm always like, how do you fucking bring guests? Like imagine if we had Scott, Kevin, Remy, and then we've got a floating head on a computer screen.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like it just looks fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
that-
especially, and that fucks with our flow because then how are we communicating to that person? Are they on a laptop right here? So we're all talking to them like this,
yeah.
but the viewer is seeing us all sitting in the laptop talking to the laptop while there's a floating bubble chat over here with the person's face in it.
The worst one was that podcast you had on here last week with what's his name? Lex Friedman and
Tim Dillon?
Dylan.
Where they were-
Holy fuck,
where
was
they were
that
kinda
awful?
separated. Yeah.
The way they were sitting.
Yeah.
They're like looking at each other, but they're not.
Yeah, it
I
was
was like,
weird.
this is eerie.
They're looking into the ether.
I couldn't even get past it. I was like, I can't even look at this. I can
Yeah.
listen to this, but I can't look at it.
Yeah, Tim Dillon did that with Joe Rogan too.
That's
yeah, Joe
terrible.
Rogan on, and they did that two talking head thing, and it was just like, ugh.
That might be the worst way I've ever seen it done.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I'd rather just
I get
have
it. You're trying to get them bigger in the frame, but like, ugh.
Like, it was split screen,
Yeah.
and
It was like you had two cameras, and
Yeah,
then
it
one
looked like
was
they were
half the
sitting
screen,
beside-
the other was half the screen.
but they were actually sitting across the table.
Yeah.
Well, so like it was
weird.
like imagine like you have the exact same backdrop and you're sitting on the exact same chair, but you're in two different places.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're in the same room, but you're like this, and the other is like this, and it's like you're talking sort of at each other, but not to each other.
It was
just
super
like,
unnerving.
It would also be better if there
Holy
was
fuck.
cameras between them. So like picture they're across from each other like this, and the cameras are here pointed directly at their faces. So all you're seeing is their faces and them just looking slightly over the camera.
just the body language is off. Though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No one's reacting organically.
No.
It
Well,
just felt weird.
It's as if we're talking like this.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm talking to you, Jeremy. Hello, Jeremy.
What it reminded me of, and maybe why it was so creepy for me, is I think we've talked about this before, but Black Mirror, there's an episode where you can like replay memories.
Yeah.
And
saw
the
that
couple
one.
is they're having sex, but they're both replaying other sexual encounters, and the screen pans out, and neither one of them are paying attention to each other, and they're just both in their own world, like fucking, and they're just their eyes are like white because
Yeah.
when
They're
you're
in the
remembering
playback
things,
or
your
whatever.
eyes go white, and
Yeah.
so they're just like just soullessly fucking, and I'm
Creepy.
like, oh Jesus, this is unsettling.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna happen.
Probably.
Like we're getting so out of the moment.
Yeah.
It's just like holy
well, like
shit.
the
that
VR
was
thing is the VR thing's a close thing to that.
Yeah, it's
know what I
just
mean?
really disturbing. Like
Yeah.
the imagery of it was just really unsettling. It stayed with me.
Well, it was showing the potential for us to disconnect.
Yeah.
Like even in our most connected moments, now all of a sudden we have this option to
The
disconnect.
technology's
so
found its
far.
way in there.
We're
Oh my
both
God,
basically
yeah.
playing a porno in our heads
Yeah.
while we're fucking each other, but we're both kind of like we're both doing it thinking the other person doesn't know too. But like we probably wouldn't care if
Yeah,
the other
say if you both discussed it ahead of time and you were watching the
that's
same,
a different thing.
That's all different.
There's a whole thing about watching porn while you're fucking. And,
Yo, yeah, I was gonna say like that's a very reasonable thing to do.
but this is a different thing. This is not like that.
This is them being with each other but playing memories of other partners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
much more eerie. And
Yeah.
if you see the scene, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's
Yeah,
very,
it's uncomfortable.
it's very,
Well, I've seen that episode, but it was a long time ago. So
yeah, it's very traumatic.
that was like season 1 or 2 kind of
it
thing.
was the first season.
First season.
Yeah.
They were really good at
I think I
first.
saw the whole first season.
They were really good at first, and then they got a little bit.
They're still good. They're just a
They're
little
still
bit out
good.
there.
They're just not as
I think like they're
genuine
probably-
inspiration.
They
for the
used
first
up
few.
Yeah.
bigger, general, more relatable concepts right off the hop.
Totally.
And then they had to specialize and get more specific.
My favorite one was 15 million merits.
Yeah,
that's
where,
the one
they're,
where
they're earning points, like they're trying earning famousness basically, so they don't have to work anymore.
Yeah, and they're on the bikes.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
peddling something.
Yeah.
They're peddling to keep that place going. And then at the end, the guy has like the snap show in the middle of the American Idol stage when he's got the knife and he's like, I'm going to do this speech. And he like goes through how absurd their existence is. And then at the end of it, he buys
back
in.
into it,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, soul crushing. You can't get out. It's like stuck in a hamster wheel. And the only way, and when you do win, you're still inside of it.
yeah, you're not out.
It's like, oh,
Welcome
so,
to capitalism.
You've
apt.
just earned the envy of the other players.
Yes, yeah.
That's all you've done.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's a majority of our existence is status driven.
But he got a view of the
Is
outside
it
world.
status driven or is it fear of death and hoping for good mates driven?
They're all
You know,
they're all part of the same.
Yeah,
The status makes you outlive death. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? You become a
or it
god.
makes you think
Yeah.
you're going to outlive death.
Yeah.
But
your
the-
fear of death drives you to
The
that
final
type of
moments
Yeah.
of that episode were the most striking, where he's drinking a glass of water and he's looking out the window at a green world, like it's just greenery, and like this, like he'll never get that, but he gets this fake version of this world outside of that. Right, it just was a very powerful image, and like it's not something they needed to say to you to say it to you. That he did all of this. Well, at least now he gets a glimpse of what life was like before this.
Yeah.
Right, but he'll never get to do that. We can't do that now. Like we can't. Yeah.
It's
I
like
don't know.
it's like investing too much in social media, for example, where you're like, oh yeah, I can try to beat this game. I'm gonna try to beat it. I'm gonna try to beat it. And now, all right, I've got 37 million followers. I beat it. Now what?
Log
Now-
out.
Yeah, yeah.